Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to my home studio, and welcome to Luthiers Question Time, episode 96. It has been a hot minute, and I apologise. It's been 2 weeks without the stream. Life became somewhat complicated, but you know what? I'm really glad to be back. Wow, I just hit the wrong button on the camera there, so yeah. I actually have not recorded anything in my home studio now at all in about 3 weeks, and that is somewhat problematic. But anyway, it is what it is. We're back, and I feel I owe you something. I think I'm going to start doing sort of an interstitial Q&A live stream from Crimson headquarters now that I'm fully set up. There's never enough tools, is there? Now that I am ensconced at headquarters and working out of there a lot. So yeah, I'm thinking potentially Wednesday morning or something like that. Watch this space. All right, so this is the Luthiers Question Time. It is where I answer your questions about guitar building in general. But anything goes. If you want to guarantee an answer, then please feel free to send through a super chat. That is the best way to ensure that I'm actually going to see the question. We've already got 62 people currently watching, and the chat goes by fairly rapidly. If not, I do try and see what's happening, and we'll go from there. So yeah, we've got Bedroom Programmer, Garage Master Guitars, Stephen Hatch, Anonymous Botch, Sweet Tea Guitars, how you doing, Sweet Tea, Frugal Fixer Spike, Lisa, Bedroom Programmer. I saw an interesting comment from you on the main channel this morning, talking about the strange electronics and acoustasonic study stuff. Very interested in that. Okay, fine. And he is also currently drinking a fine German beer of choice. What is that? Potts Landbier tonight. Okay, who else have we got? Who else have we got in the building? Sporadic Amnesia comes in with the first question. Evening, Ben. Hope all is well with you and the family. Good seeing you in person again last week at Kempton. Kempton was the reason. It was all your fault. Kempton was the reason that the last the last live stream didn't happen. Did you manage to get that guitar with all the LEDs in the end? Actually, I didn't. I think they actually sold the one I didn't really want. But no, I'd completely forgotten about that until yesterday. Strange old electric guitar where the LEDs have been lined up with, there we go, the LEDs had been hooked up to the frets on the neck, so that every time you move, a different LED lights up. It is one of those things that is, what am I thinking? Interesting from a technical point of view. Oh my gosh, what happens if I do this? I can make the LEDs change. I can make them change as I'm playing different chords. I can do all these sorts of things. And this is an idea that many people have suggested to me over the years. Frets are metal. An electrical surface relies on metal. Strings are metal. Therefore, if you bring the two together, you can do cool stuff. And I seem to recall that GB Guitars, who is it's a company owned by Bernie Goodfellow, predominantly make basses, very, very cool basses, and I think that they've done something similar at some point. It's tickling the back of my mind. But I've always thought that, okay, cool, that's an interesting thing. I would find the off switch and I would turn it off within 5 minutes of having the instrument. Anyhow, they were very interesting, and if you're interested, go and check out the website for the Kempton Park Guitar Show, or the was it London International Guitar Show. They're on the listing. They're on the exhibitors lists there. Now, the interesting thing is that the guitars were a few £100 and actually also had acrylic bodies. So acrylic bodies, LEDs everywhere. I should have just bought one. I really just should have bought one, actually. Maybe I still will, just for the Luthiers teardown part of the channel. It's an interesting instrument. Damn it, I'm just going to have to go and buy one, aren't I? Anyway, fine. All right. For you. And yes, Sporadic Music, it was good to meet you at the show. Those plectra that I bought while we were standing there, the big packet that I didn't get to play with beforehand, utter bust. I hate them. I've just given them to people at headquarters and said, hey, do you want a plectrum? Here you go, take it. Don't give it back to me. When you realise you hate it, pass it on to somebody else. So, yeah, they'll be doing the rounds, I think. I now know why there was not a plectrum out for you to play with. It was very calculated. He knew that he would not sell any if people actually had a go. Okay, so there we go. 1, 2, 3. Questions, queries, comments, criticisms if necessary. Bedroom Programs talking about today's video. He guesses the customer is in New Zealand and sent this wood to Old England so Ben can make him his guitar. Not currently in New Zealand. Last time I spoke to him, he was on an aeroplane actually. But yes, no. You'll see. You'll find out who the end recipient of this guitar is at some point. Oh, and I've got iced decaf coffee tonight, so there we go. It's something I've been promising to try for a while. Now, I need some questions, people. Kevin Harvey. Kevin Harvey says, I am thinking of putting together a free Luthiers magazine uploaded to a free magazine portal if the community is interested in supplying articles. I've often had that thought. The problem with all of these things is just the sheer amount of time that goes into editing something properly. Now, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely interested in reading it. I personally am not sure if I've got any time to put anything else together for anybody, and that includes my own website. David Oddy says, evening, missed you all for a couple of weeks. I did too. Genuinely, I get a lot of my I feed off you people. Yeah, I get my energy from what's happening. Anyway, now where are we? Decaf coffee, it's useless cold brown water. That's from Mr. Waffles. I agree, but it tastes okay, and this late at night, I need something other than water. With an hour and a half or so of talking, drinking water seems to actually dry my throat out more somehow, and I end up coughing directly into the microphone. So I'm trying this as an anti-cough kind of thing. But anyway... SM14, talking to Dave, there we go. I'm personally not going to that show. Paul Need says, can you backlight inlay with LEDs? I know they'd have to be thin. Yes, you absolutely can. I've seen it done. I've seen it done many times with all sorts of different things. And you can vary the thickness in order to get variable results. But yes. Mark Ellis says, I'm kind of curious how bad a plectrum can be now. It wasn't that it was bad. Okay, so you've got this triangular plectrum, and I don't recall the brand name. Triangular plectrum, it's fine. It's actually really clever what they've thought, because it's got 2 or maybe even 3 different thicknesses. So each point where you would play has a different response. Which, in the abstract, this is another one of those things. Hey, that sounds like a good idea. Give everybody the options they want. But you don't take your plectrum out of your pocket on a dark stage and look at it to try and figure out which is the bit you want, or play. You take it out your pocket and you play. So you're there with a 33.33 chance of getting the right pick, for one. And for 2, it's got a hole in the center, which means that your thumb and forefinger are actually touching as you play, which to me feels so incredibly weird. Just entirely off-putting. So yeah, some people will love it, I'm sure, absolutely. Anonymous Botch says, waiting for the 20,000 hour build as Ben individually sets the router shavings into resin to create the original grain pattern. Interestingly enough, the client who owns the Sporadic Amnesic has just named the plectrum company, which is something I was desperately trying not to do because I don't like being an arsehole. Sporadic Amnesic says they were Zen picks, for what it's worth. I just don't like them, and that's fair enough. Okay, now, funnily enough, if you haven't watched today's video, I turned about £10,000. It's debatable. I mean, there were some wormholes, etc. But a lot of money's worth of 42,000-year-old swamp cowrie into router shavings. And I wasn't sure what we were planning on doing with it, but we are going to be making a guitar somehow, probably utilizing resin. I'm hoping to do something cool with the resin and the shavings though, and actually then book match it, so it'll be cool. But the thing is, we're also going to be putting that on Great Guitar Giveaway as a charity competition, raising money for a children's hospital. So that is another guitar that's going to be coming out of the current cowrie build. So there we go. Look, I need to catch up. There's some questions. Sporadic Amnesic is actually filling up the questions. Thank you very much. He says, can you put shielding paint onto a lacquer finish? That SG I bought last week has no shielding in the cavity. It was only £159. Was that one of those Fairclough ones? Genuinely, I've ordered a couple because I cannot believe that a couple of £100 Les Paul is the quality that they seemed to be when I picked them up. So I think we're on the same page. But yes, the shielding paint does go onto a lacquer finish. It varies depending on how thick it is. In other words, if you have watered down the shielding paint, which you can do, it tends to pool a little bit. But if you just scratch up the inside surface of the lacquer, that will work absolutely perfectly. Sweet Tea Guitar says, I absolutely love the new Fred crowning files. So much cleaner. Really great, brother. Perception and linguistics. I love it. Peace and love, my friend. Yes, the new Fred crowning files are... that was a long process, actually, finding a company who made a triangular file that was good enough at a price that we could actually justify doing. And as such, that's pretty premium, but worth every single penny. So yeah, I'm glad you like that. I really am. I've just... well, I've got a set here, and I need to order a set for my workshop and headquarters now. It's crazy. Dimitri says, good evening, Ben. What I'm looking for in a guitar is sustain and tuning stability. What is the most important part in the build to achieve that? Thank you. Okay, sustain and tuning stability. Your neck is the most important bit. Tuning stability, I would say when you're putting your frets in, absolutely put glue in the slots or some sort of a wood filler or something underneath the slots so that when you push the frets in, they push excess goop out to the side. Once that all cures and dries, you will have a neck that has very few cavities in there, and thus it will be a little bit more stable. That stability also affects the sustain of the instrument, and in search of that, I would also then say carbon fiber stiffening rods on either side of the truss rod. Use a low profile dual action truss rod, not one of those large things inside of an aluminium U-channel, for example. A multi-laminate neck would be a better thing as well. Basically, you want your neck to be very, very stiff, and so that it transmits and reflects and gives you sustain while also being stable enough that you don't suffer with tuning instabilities. The other thing on that front though is thinking about your nut. So you want to use You want to use slippery slots nut source if you're having a problem. You want to make absolutely certain that the fret slots are the right size for the strings. You don't want your strings to be buried 3 millimeters deep into a nut. You want to be able to touch the top of the string when it is seated nicely in the nut. That removes sticking, etc. There's many things, but however many things I just mentioned there, that's where you start. Okay, Robert R says, did you ever figure out the LED issues in your cyberpunk guitar? I figured it out, I just haven't had the time to fix the damn things. Frugal Fixer Spike says he got his votes in finally, Slacker done. So, a great guitar build-off. We extended, not the competition, we just extended the time that people had to vote because we had only had a relatively small amount of the 350 or so competitors actually put their votes in. And it was literally just via email, responding to an email that Dale sent. The problem was it was a classic TLDR, too long, didn't read. And my mother and I tend to write longer emails. So that's going to be changing. I have also figured out, I think, through suggestions that we've been getting, I think I've got the shape of what's going to happen with Great Guitar Build-Off next year. And not very much is changing in the competition itself. We are thinking about adding new categories. What do you think about a category for people who predominantly use CNCs and / or 3D printers for their builds? Should they have their own modern guitar building category or something like that? I'm in two minds. I genuinely am. But there we go. Okay. But yes, at this point, we've got a lot more votes in, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing. I am staying well out of it. I'm actively not looking at these as they come through because I don't want to know who's won until the very, very end. Okay, David Oddy says, hi, I acquired a cheap set neck, but the action is too high even with the Tune-o-matic bridge right down. Can you drill the posts lower into the body? You can drill the posts lower into the body, but the bridge itself is still going to be bottoming out on the top of the guitar after a certain amount of time. Let me see if I have a Tune-o-matic two-hand. I should do. Here we go. All right. Just dropping random bits of hardware on the floor. I think that went in there. All right, so your standard Tune-o-matic here. If you think about it carefully, you can actually file or angle grind with a flap disc or something like that rather a lot of meat away. Thought I did. Okay. So here we do. We've got a standard Tune-o-matic, and here is one where I, at some point in the distant past, completely messed up on the string break angle, and I filed that or ground that down to basically just underneath the intonation adjustment screws, and you got a tiny Tune-o-matic. It does then mean that your posts will stick out far higher, etc., and you've got other issues, but it's a relatively cool fix for a problem. The other is to pull the inserts out of the body entirely, and route a cavity the same shape as your Tune-o-matic. Anytime we see either of those two solutions, we know that somebody's messed up, and well, I've done it quite a few times actually, so yeah, we all understand. Anthony Cunliffe says, I bought a Fender Player Mustang 90 last week from Andertons, and DPD delivered it to the wrong address. The delivery picture shows nothing but the shipping label. Please join me in hoping it turns up. I would tell you straight away to get in touch with Andertons and and just ask for your money back. This thing never arrived. It's gone to the wrong address. DPD have obviously stolen it because that guy wanted a guitar. A photograph of the address label of the label is not proof that it's arrived at your door. It's a photograph of a label. Okay, cool. Ba-dum-ba-bum-bum-bum. Magic Music Adam says hi from Manchester, Ben. How's it going? Martin Apsey says hello from the weird brothers that said hello at Kempton. That sounds like rather a lot of people I spoke to at Kempton. I think that we're all just a little bit strange, to be honest. Peter London, I have a few blanks that I acquired 30-ish years ago. Effing hard and very, very cross-grained. Took my Lee Nielsen block plane to it and the blade was blunt after 2 strokes on a test piece. There is some wood that just does not want to be friendly with you. Funnily enough, and he says, here you go, what is your take on ironwood? Olea capensis for a fretboard. That was a 2-part question. I would not bother. Let me rephrase that. I would not bother in my normal workshop with hand planes and all that jazz. Just, no thank you. I don't have the time nor the energy to sharpen a plane 15 squintillion times in order to sort out a single truss fretboard. However, at headquarters I have a wide belt sander thicknesser. I've got a very cool planer thicknesser that's got a helicoidal cutter block, for example, that could deal with cross grain quite nicely and very quietly, by the way, as well. So what I'm saying is it's a fantastic material if you don't have to use hand tools on it. If you have to use hand tools on it, then I would say forget planes and bladed tools entirely, go abrasives, and yeah, I've avoided it. People have offered me ironwood fretboards in the past, or neck blanks even, and I've just said no thanks. You use it. You use it. Let me know how that goes. Alrighty. Come on then. Mark Ellis says, is there going to be a party for episode 100? I doubt it. I'm not much for parties, me. But yeah, we'll see. Doom-ba-da-bum. Alfred Kane says, what has happened over the last 2 weeks? Week 1, it was my daughter's birthday, and I took her to London for the weekend, expecting to be back in time for the live stream, and I just was not. It was long, it was painful, it was great fun. But there we go. And then last week there was a guitar show, and yes, at around about the time I should have been doing the live stream, I was collapsed at a local at a pizza parlor in Kempton Park, having a really nice pizza, and with myself, Tom, and Sam just sitting on this booth, just sort of gently rocking. It was a beautifully busy day, that was. Interestingly, Tom and that Sam, so young Sam, new Sam, are going to be at the Harrogate Woodworking Show with some of the vintage tools this coming weekend. I have decided that I would rather do the live stream. I'm not going to that woodworking show. Massive 3-day event, incredibly cool, but no. I am, however, going to be at the, I think it's the Aintree Guitar Show at the end of this month, up Liverpool way, I think. So yeah, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. Come on, then. Dum. Give me questions, people. 131 viewers, only 54 likes. Come on. So interesting thing, somebody just mentioned good picture on the sort of wait. The thumbnail for this video is a different one. I did a video at a Gardner Hallgate auction house 2 or 3 months ago about a burst conversion guitar. This is where you take a gold top guitar, so an early 50s gold top, and then you convert it into a 59 or 60 spec sunburst Les Pauls. So you're using an original Gibson and then you're converting it into something more desirable. Now, these things used to be all the rage 10, 15 years ago, and you know, because most people didn't want a gold top. Nowadays, a nice gold top is in and of itself a particularly sought out thing. For example, Ben, who runs Gear Garage, who commissioned Nebula 2, he owns one, and it's a stunning guitar. But yeah, so anyway, I mentioned this burst conversion was fine, except for the fact that they'd completely retopped it. So they took off everything that was under the gold top and put a flame maple top on it. And this was in the last 5 years or so. Did a whole bunch of refinishing work, of course, aged the finish, relicking, etc. And the whole thing was basically fine, if you don't mind burst conversions, except for the fact that they created a serial number for this guitar. And because the 50s gold top didn't actually have a serial, they don't have serial numbers, those early ones, apparently. So I have been told. And it was fine, it was interesting, and I just questioned the serial number thing. Now, I'm at this guitar show last week, and I walk past a table, I'm like, oh, there's that burst conversion, and I am assailed by the gentleman who owns it, because it did not sell at auction. He wanted about 25 to 30 grand for it, and there was only a single bid at £18,500. Anyway, he grabs me and says, "Benjamin Crowe, you didn't like my guitar." I was like, "I liked the guitar, I love the guitar, I didn't really like the serial number." He says, "Well, the serial number, I'll have you know." And he did give me a very good point, that well, I've done a video that's been seen by, I don't know, 30, 40,000 people, say. He's actually put it in a bunch of magazines and things. So anytime that actual serial number comes up, anybody who Googles it is going to find that it is a burst conversion, even if some scurrilous scallywag does decide to try and sell it on at some point. So there we go. It was very interesting. At that show, there were five actual bursts, 2 or 3 from 1960, 2 or 3 from 1959. One of them worth about 500 grand. There were 2 for sale, 1960s, that are currently with ATB guitars if you're interested and have 300 grand to spend. But at one point there were all 5 of them on a table together, while this lonely burst conversion was downstairs. And yeah, there was a sight to see. It really was. I am going to be filming, just in the news while I'm waiting for questions, I'm going to be filming an update video on the actual 59 burst that came up at auction probably 6 months ago now. I filmed a thing at the auction house talking about the guitar. It has now been somewhat restored and made better by the owner, and yeah, I'm going to be filming something with that guitar, and hopefully with him as well. So yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. JS Trucking and Guitar says, "Well, hello there, Ben. I missed last week's stream. What happened? But I generally cringed with that $10,000 worth of sawdust." It's a hell of a lot of money worth of material, but also, so with regards to that, the problem is I could have cut the back off the guitar in the same way that I'd made the front, made the whole blank even thinner, which I didn't want to do, and then routed around the inside, leaving my thing. And I would have ended up with a piece of wood maybe a little bit bigger than an iPad, say, that wouldn't really be that much use to anybody. Whereas, well, this way I've got a bunch of shavings, which we're going to put in resin with, I don't know, maybe some gold leaf or something and make something interesting. Okie dokie. Now, Sweet Tea Guitar says, what's the best way to deal with a glue line in a feather edge where the top meets the body wood? Binding? Binding. Binding or staining. At that point, there is nothing that you can do short of taking the whole top off or routing the whole thing away, which I don't think that you want to do. I would seriously consider staining something. I would seriously consider painting the body potentially, or maybe even going in after the fact and putting in a line of purfling like you would find on a violin. And if you do something like that, you get to charge an extra percentage on what the guitar would be. And all you've done is actually hidden something that you didn't think was quite up to scratch. Now, what I'm going to be doing on my hand tool only acoustic travel guitar build is I'm not going to be inlaying the purfling. I am going to be scratching it in there using a knife and then filling that with essentially dust and glue or something along those lines. I'm also not going to be painting it, which was one of my initial thoughts. So that could also work. Essentially turn it into a feature. Sporadic Amnesic says, I still say some of the cowrie shavings should be made into a coffee mug or something. The shavings, the wood, all of that is still owned by the client. That wood is not mine. The sheer amount of people asking me to send them a scrap of it, it's like, no. Anyway. Sporadic Amnesic says, yes, it was a Fairclough indeed. They're a fairly new brand in the UK, basically. And I couldn't believe the quality. Jonathan Nash says, should I buy the book Building Electric Guitars by Martin Koch? It is a very good book. It was the first book that I had when I started building, that and the one by Melvin Hiscock, and the Guitar Making Tradition and Technology by Compiano Natelson is my other one for acoustics and classical, although everything sort of applies and is worth looking at. On top of that, you have got the incredible book on building archtop guitars by Benedetto. Those 4 books are essentially the must-haves. Frankly, we should stock them at headquarters. We should stock them in our shop. We don't sell any books. Hey, I should write a book. Now there's an idea. Hey, I should get some some ADHD made, so maybe I could sit down and actually concentrate on writing said book. Okay. Time and Guitar says, anyone remember shark fin picks? I used to love shark fin picks. I literally, I found a box that used to have several hundred shark fin picks in it. And when I was about 18 or so, I came across at a car boot sale somebody who had a guitar shop and was just selling up. And I bought for a $5 a box with about 100 plectrums in it. And I used nothing but white shark fins for the next 15 years. They were great. I've still got a few. Paul Needs says, the time goes into editing something properly. The ex-professional editor of an online magazine agrees. We had a full-time sub-editor to check spelling, grammar and sense. Yes, my editor checks me for sense every now and then. It's my sister though, so she sometimes leaves me saying silly things on camera, just for fun. Genuinely, a good editor is incredible. Jeff Williams says, what is the difference between guitar stain and the stain you can get from big box stores? I can guarantee that my stain is the best quality you can get. I can guarantee that the big box store stuff is probably made to the cheapest price imaginable. Basically, there are other good stains out there, guaranteed. But I don't know them. So, yeah. Bubbly Juice, that is a name that I have not yet seen on this channel. Very cool. It says, hi Ben, what are the benefits of a roasted neck? Can it be done in a home workshop? And is it worth it? Yes. Thanks. Out walking as I listen. That's so cool. Okay. In England, we don't have enough of a signal to guarantee in most places that we'd be able to listen to a live stream while it's going on. Okay. So the benefits of a roasted neck, essentially you are stiffening the wood up, you're making it also lighter at the same time, you make it smell quite nice, to be honest, which is a side benefit for the luthier, and it tends to sound, it rings a little bit better. Essentially you're faux aging the wood. So we were talking about 59 Les Pauls earlier, and I don't think that it was a placebo effect, but when I played that guitar, it felt better. And that's because it is 60 years old. It has been played a lot. The wood has dried and aged, etc. And as a result of that drying and aging, and I think the vibrations going through it, etc., it has developed a characteristic that sounds great. Okay, so that's essentially what you're trying to do. It cannot be done in a home workshop. When you are torrefying whatever type of wood you are talking about, let's say maple. When you're torrefying maple, then you are heating it up in a controlled environment in a vacuum over a certain amount of time. So you put it in an oven, you put the oven in a great big vacuum chamber, you pull all of the oxygen out so the wood doesn't burn to a crisp, and you leave it there for a period of time. That's not something, well, it is something you could do in your home workshop, but your neighbors might well think you're building a nuclear reactor or something, and, you know, it would look a little bit like that in my book. It could be fun to do, though. It could be very fun to do. If any of you know of anyone in the UK who is roasting wood on a commercial level, please let me know. I would be very, very interested in meeting them. Alan Wood, good to see you at Kempton. Could you put up a price list for the tools and supplies it shows? Yes, that was something that was supposed to be in the box and was not. So everybody had to go and ask the price, at which point we knew what you were after, and we were like, well, yeah, it's supposed to be this, but I'll do you a, you know. Why are you walking away? Okay. Stephen Hatch says, am I right in remembering you like Western Red Cedar for a solid body? I found a local supplier for it and more. Sounds fun. Yes, Western Red Cedar is something that I'm a good quality, solid, nice, tight grained piece of Western Red Cedar would work very well for a guitar body. Now, interestingly, the first Telecasters, the Broadcasters, etc., the No-Casters, they were made out of pine. The bodies were pine. And, well, they sounded great. And were nice and lightweight. There are certain companies making pine-bodied guitars nowadays. My arguments against pine and softwoods like that still stand. If you want a perfect finish, it's not the wood to use. If you want something that isn't going to dent, if you look at it sideways, then that is not the wood for you. But if you don't mind that, or you don't mind slathering it and finish, a nice, good, millimeter thick layer of resiny varnish, for example. But from a sound point of view, actually, yeah, Western red cedar, pine, etc. would be good. Okay, let's have a look at... Yeah, let us have a look at queries on the... on the Discord. Okay. Big thing from Bedroom Programmer, who's also in here. I have some things to repair and modify on my acoustics. I have a drop damage where the butt end of the guitar is missing a section right at the rim close to the strap button. You would have to put a piece of wood in there, basically, and re-lacquer it. Well, that's far too long of a question for me to read here. Whoa. How do you copy an acoustic bridge saddle from plastic to bone? Draw it on a piece of paper and just use a plan. Essentially hold it up next to each other and carve down till you've got it. How do I fix a hole at the edge of the soundboard inside? You need to go and watch oh damn, of course I've just forgotten his name. Hold on, I go to T Woodford. I go to YouTube and actually that's still the video that's out. Go and watch some of T Woodford's videos. He will answer 99% of your questions in 2 videos. Yeah, very, very, very cool. I've got a question here from Guitar Monger. There's a 50s guitar there. It looks like it is made by the same factory that made the very, very early Ibanez guitars and sort of Futurama, that sort of things. It's got the same sort of look. I can't remember the name of the factory though at this point. And then we've got one here as well from Angel Song Guitars. Building a pine bass, one piece. So a piece of pine. It's a one-piece guitar, one-piece bass guitar made out of a single piece of pine. But what they're doing is they're taking some maple inserts and they're inserting those into the neck. And they want to know, would you ever leave a tapered center stripe or a straight center stripe? 100% tapered center stripe, always. It just looks better. Okay, Rune's coming. Hey Rune, how you doing? He's coming with a super chat, thank you very much. And says, I'm at that age where my six-pack is overtaken by a well-developed belly. I've always been at that age, my friend. Now, why is it that no one makes a guitar that facilitates that shape? To my knowledge, guitars are either flat or have a bulge, convexity on the back. Funnily enough, the first guitars that I built for Robert Fripp had a belly carve. In other words, an internal curve. I'm not entirely sure. Let's go and have a look at this one over here. Oh, there we go. It's not something, it's not easy. It involves more carving time, which in the day and age of CNC machines isn't that much of an issue. But the sanding is the issue. So if you look at this guitar, you can see that you've got a belly carve, and it does make it a little bit more comfortable. This is one of my favorite guitars of all time. This is my 12-hour guitar. I built her in just over 12 hours. If you haven't watched the series, please do. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's just not commercially viable to spend too much time on the back of a guitar. Now, if you, for example, have a Les Paul or a Telecaster or something like that, it isn't beyond the wit of man to take an angle grinder to that and carve a nice, comforting, belly-hugging shape into it. Yeah. Now, I built that guitar for Robert Fripp after he told me, you're the guitar builder, you're the rock star's rock star, you tell me what I need. So I built a guitar, and he immediately hated it and made me go and then build a proper, basically a copy of a Les Paul, just improved, but with all the ergonomics and the shapes and the sizes and things the same. Anyway, that was when you've been playing the same style of guitar for so long. I'm not surprised that that happened. Alrighty. Ooh. ER Webster says, I feel like lots of guitars have belly carves. Most of mine do, unless I'm specifically trying for a classic square telly shape. That's the thing. I haven't, to my knowledge, found many others. But yeah, tell us brands, please. Ape Song says, T. Woodford is an alchemist for guitar repairs. He's incredibly fun to watch. Mr. Waffles wants to try Western Red Cedar, beautiful wood. Graham B. Hi, all nice having you back, Ben. It's nice to be back. I'm loving the curry build. Morning, and how are you? How are you going to cope with softwood? Happy belated birthday to your daughter. Thank you very much. A lot in that message. Yeah, it's a relatively soft guitar, but it's going to be great. It is going to be great. Don Nicholson. Hey Ben, what happened with the name change for the separate companies, Crimson Run? I seem to remember a video about it a while back. Did I miss an announcement? So the issue with that was that people don't like buying guitars from a company that makes kit guitars, for one. And yes, there's a certain amount of confusion with regards to people coming to buy tools and then not knowing where to buy guitars and vice versa and all that. But in the end, well, we've actually stopped making kit guitars, basically. I may still be subbing or creating a sub-brand for the custom shop guitars, but at the moment, all of the professional advice that I took, because it's wise to do that, all said actually just keep the brand. The brand is strong and good. But it turns out that we were making somewhat of a loss on pretty much every kit guitar that we were making, because we were making them too damn well. So we've had to stop that for now, which is sad, but there we go. Fluid Focus is one of my absolute favorite guitars, has a pine core. I love it. That is the thing, pine, maple, top and back. You've got the weight and the look that you want. It's great, and the tone, really. Southern Yellow Pine from Timing Guitars. Rage Quit says, hey Ben, I got a guitar neck that is about 1 millimeter too small from being able to sit snugly in a neck pocket. What do I do? You can put veneer on either side, or you could glue some extra veneer onto the side of the neck and sort of try and hide it that way. If you build a scratch plate to cover the neck pocket joint, it won't be immediately obvious that you've done that. A good thick varnish on both the neck and inside the neck pocket would actually probably take up about that millimeter. But yeah, there's generally, yeah, that's it. Essentially, you want to fill it, you want to make it nice and snug. It is not absolutely necessary to have a perfectly snug fitting neck pocket, but it's nice to. It is nice to. Okay, we've been going for nearly an hour, 143 viewers, 78 likes. I suppose it's my fault for losing for 2 weeks, really. You're making me work for this one. Bedroom Programmer, the Crimson Easy Build Your Own Nuclear Reactor in 2 weeks course. Let's do it. Time Guitar says, guitars that have been played a lot do sound better in my opinion. They need to be broken in. Here we go. Paul Needs, has any progress been made on the extra vivid stain colors? For example, transparent, obviously fire engine, Ferrari red, sapphire blue, etc. I will check up on that. Sweet Tea says, in the same vein, crimson stains are great. All of them. The only other color I use is Angelus leather dye and occasionally some trans tint. We're looking into getting dye actually. Gareth Travis says, Ben, we were asking about your Guild S300 video, please. Funnily enough, that Guild is the one guitar that I don't own that was on that wall. It belongs to one of our dealers and is in for some repairs, and somebody put it on that wall because it looks nice, but that's not actually in the collection. However, it is here for some repairs, and yeah, we will film that. So there we go. A lot of people telling me to write the book. One person saying I should get a ghostwriter. Steve Butcher says, when's the next hand tool only video landing? I can't wait to see the neck insert fix up job. Okay, a little while. I have not. I haven't been in the workshop to film anything. It's in exactly the same position and state. I need a day off. We've got a new member of staff at headquarters who I am sort of working with, and there's a bunch of other stuff happening. GreatGuitarGiveaway.com is going to be launching in the next couple of days with some pretty great guitars, and there is going to be a Gibson Les Paul in pretty stunning condition that is literally being given away, free tickets. So yeah, essentially check that out. But next week, most of the week is going to be videos based around the Great Guitar Giveaway and launching that site. I'm hoping that around about the middle of the week, I'll be able to take a day off in this workshop to film the next installment of the hand tool only build. Now, I did have a deadline for the Cowrie build that, well, I think it's just going to swish past me, basically. The guitar needs to be better. I don't want to rush things, and every time I spend time on it, I realize there's just more that I want to do. So that deadline is now no longer quite as important. The video is going to be a little bit less cool when I finally finish it, sadly. But it is what it is. I'd rather have a good guitar, a better guitar, the best guitar. So, yeah, I've got a lot on my plate, people. A hell of a lot. And not enough questions. Feed me questions. David Oddie says, I just bought a Gibson Les Paul Standard, and whilst a beautiful guitar, I prefer playing my Fender. Weird or what? Not weird at all. One of my favorite guitars right now, genuinely one of my favorite guitars right now, out of everything that I've bought, and I've been buying guitars like crazy for this museum, is, can you believe it, a Squier Esquire. It's a £300 guitar, and I'm just really digging how it feels. Yeah, there we go. All right. Mark Ellis says, I've been planing down a Soprano fretboard blank. It's been a bit chippy in places. Freshly sharpened blade, but still giving me a few problems. Should I just move on to a leveling beam? Leveling beams and sanding and abrasives when wood is giving you trouble are a valid option, yes. Soprano can be pretty chippy, as can torrefied woods in general, just going back to an earlier question. I would suggest try If you've got a low angle plane, use that. And if you're just using a standard block plane, instead of planing straight down the wood, put your plane at an angle and sort of scooch it sideways. That effectively lowers the break angle of the plane and does mean that it can deal with gnarly grain a little bit easier. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Peter Elstrom says, yes, on the live one, I'm working on an Ibanez gem and listening to Ben at the same time. Not bad. Welcome to the stream. Time and Guitar says, will we see more guitars made out of that cowrie? Yes. I have got a 335 style, or potentially Hofner very thin style guitar already commissioned, and it's going to happen. We're even thinking about making a piano, can you believe it? But yeah, at the very least you are going to see this guitar that we're currently doing and a 335 style with hand carved top and back, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Sporadic on music again, you are the MVP today, thank you very much. Says, I'm looking forward to seeing the teardown vid for the Explorer you bought and getting a raffle ticket for it because, well, I'm a bit obsessed with it. So yes, this is for Great Guitar Giveaway. I got an Epiphone Modern and an Epiphone Explorer in Carina. I forgot the word for Carina, can you believe it? At this guitar show, as well as a Gibson Flying V on the way to the guitar show for the giveaways, and there's going to be all sorts of fun stuff happening, so that's coming. And yeah, there's going to be I'm looking. Gold leaf itself is very delicate. Absolutely practice before you go, but the very best tip is to make absolutely certain that the substrate that you are leafing onto is perfect before you do anything. Now, if you're starting with a Les Paul style guitar that's already finished, that's fine. Please excuse me. I think my body's telling me there's something wrong with this coffee. It's not waking you up. Panic, panic, panic. Because it's not caffeinated. Okay, so yeah, essentially you want a perfect finish before you leaf onto it. Leaf is so thin it'll show any sins underneath it. Gold leaf, you want to use a proper oil size or gold leaf size. That stuff is relatively expensive. If you go on Amazon or whatever, eBay, something like that, your global vendor of choice, you will probably find cheap, nasty faux gold leaf. It looks like something out of, I don't know, Las Vegas, and is not nice. Don't use it. And I have also seen cheap gold leaf size that when you spend a tenner on it and you get it home, you realize, oh, this is just literally PVA glue, a little bit watered down. That's not the stuff you want. You want a 1 to 2 hour drying gold leaf size. Get it from a sign writing company or a sign writing supplies company, and a booklet of proper gold leaf will cost you £30 or so. Paying for the proper stuff is absolutely worth it. Now, on top of that, at this guitar show, I bought a gold top Joe Bonamassa Epiphone limited edition sort of Les Paul kind of thing, and the gold top paint that they used is this sort of greeny stuff. It's not the right color. I'm genuinely tempted to gold leaf that. So yeah, I mean, that's something that we had a chat about the other day, and we may well see a video of that happening. Also for Great Guitar Giveaway. Now, Great Guitar Giveaway is being done in order to raise money to fund the Guitar Museum, Dorset Guitar Museum, which is in its turn going to be there so people can sort of experience guitars and visit them and play them and rent them for gigs and sessions. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting. Okay. Tia Buxton, I've just put a deposit down on a Strandberg. Have you or anybody else played one? And what is your take on the very odd neck profile? I would play one before you buy one, genuinely. However, I think that you will get used to it very quickly, and they are incredible. So I think you'll like it. Gothrider Creations, hi Bun, how are you planning to shield the inside of the Cowrie body? Do you need to separate the electronics or risk feedback? I will be painting shielding paint on there, and that should be fine. Yeah. Bernhard Clear says, thanks to GGBO and to the success of the final video, I'm keen on making more vids. Thanks, Ben. Now I have another hobby that eats too much time next to the full-time job. Oh, get rid of the full-time job. Make the hobby the full-time job and then see how that goes. Okay, I am running low on energy, people. It has been an hour. Feed me questions or give me bed. Adam Mono, did you ever use aerosol paint finishes in the past? Never fun, especially the cheap stuff. Don't buy cheap stuff and rattle it properly. Yes, I've used it in the past and I am going to use it in the future, guaranteed. The most important thing is when you are spraying your guitar, start off the edge of the guitar. So start spraying when you're in air. It's a little bit wasteful, but start spraying there and then go off, right off the edge, and then right off the edge, right off the edge, and do quick, light passes the whole time. You don't want to change direction while you're on the body. You don't want to linger. That's where you end up with drips and nastiness. And the other issues, of course, doing it on your front drive while it's windy and your neighbour's car is parked next to you. Bonus points if it's a white car, and you're painting crimson red or bright pink or something. But yes, the other thing is dust in the environment, etc. Robert R says, we in the USA had our stupid time change rollback today, so I guess UK's time change will be next week. Is that correct? No, it was last week. Last week or the week before, actually. What was that? So that was nothing to do with farmers, ever. It's never been. In fact, farmers were very, very, very damned annoyed at the time change thing. It was initially an idea from a guy who, I seem to recall, collected insects or butterflies or something like that, and he had a full-time job, and he didn't have enough time during the day, during daylight hours, to do his hobby. so we've got freaking daylight saving times now because of that pillock. Ah, damn it. Okay. Stephen Hatch says, I found a local supplier of rippled sycamore. What's your preference for that stuff? Neck or body or both? I would use it for every single part of every single guitar I do for the rest of my life if I had my way, apart from maybe fretboards. Rage Quit. Hey Ben, I've got a quick question. What's the best way to fit a neck? Oh no, I've done that one already. Haha, there we go. Lisa says, wow, did you play it? The 59 Les Paul? Yeah, absolutely. Loy says, on the 42,000-year-old build, why not cut the contour of the hollow body and make a three-piece body as an acoustic one, avoiding route in the interior? 3 reasons. 1, I got to have a really clickbaity video title. And it's not the main reason, but hey, it helps. 2, the guitar itself that we're trying to copy was built in this fashion. We're trying, not copy, but we're doing a version of. The client, the person who the guitar is going to currently has an Acoustasonic Jazzmaster. This is what they want. And they don't want us to go too far away from that. So that. The third one is, so it's 4 actually. I could have done that, but I would have ended up with a thinner guitar than I would have liked. And I would have also only really been able to save a relatively small section of untouched wood in the middle. The fourth thing is that the owner of the wood is affiliated with a children's hospital. And we're going to be building a guitar utilizing the shavings that is going to be part of the prize draw competition to raise money for that children's hospital. So there's, 4 good reasons, I think. Sporadic Music says it was insanely busy at the show. Within 20 minutes of getting in, the doors were open. It was rammed. It was insane. It was crazy. I couldn't walk more than 5 meters without somebody stopping me at that point. Yeah, except for the one bit where I needed to run to get my camera, and people saw me running. I thought, no, I'm not going to get in his way. He's not going to stop. Lisa, anything notable at the guitar show? Yeah, I mean, 5 59 Les Pauls, among other things. ATB guitars have got a matched set of Carina. They've got a V, an Explorer, and a Modern. And a Modern, was it? Must have been. What was the third one? Anyway, 33 grand a piece, all 58s. Am I remembering that right? ATB guitars. Boom ba dum. This is dangerous. Where are we? It is as well. Yeah, 1982 Gibson Heritage Series Carina Trio, Explorer prototype, Flying V, and a Modern. I thought it was 32 grand. I thought they were all 58s. It's £32,500 for the 3. That's... yeah. It's a chunk of money. That is a chunk of money. It's, however, not the 1957 Les Paul Custom at £90,000 or the £300,000 1960, the pair of £300,000 1960 Les Paul Standards, or even the 1963 Fender Strat in Fiesta Red near mint with tags. 60 grand, tempting. Okay, what are we looking at? There's something for £10. Oh no, that's the calendar. I've got one of those already. Nope, there is nothing. Oh, there's a £90,000. Nope. I might be able to afford the 1972 Gibson SG Pro at 4 grand, but that's about it. Okay, come on then. Luthier builds, hey Ben, how do I go about getting my GGBO shirt? I bought one in April. I'm assuming, well, if it hasn't shipped to you and you haven't emailed us, sorry, if it hasn't arrived, you need to email us. office@greatguitarbuildoff.com. We did have an issue with a batch of shirts that all got sent out and didn't arrive, but everybody else has got one, so give us a shout. Big unit guitars, hey man, it's been a while. Hey Ben, I got my torsion box workbench finished, fantastic. Did you film that process? Because my workbench is still a steaming pile of crap. So yeah, no Google, it is not a good time to insert adverts. Lisa says, how do you reach the tools at the top of the wall? Oops, not bad. Right. Anthony Cunliffe, this is about DPD who've lost a guitar and that was on the way to Anthony Cunliffe from Anderton's music. For some reason I had Asperger's music in my mind. That's a completely different thing. I am tired, I'm really tired. Apparently DPD are being a pain, Andertons are being fine, but yeah, it is what it is. Good luck. Magic Music ATEM says, I'm hoping to do a course with you next year. I've done a couple of kits and some basic woodwork. How long a course would I need to make a Les Paul type? 2 weeks generally for something that complex with carved tops and inlays and all of the like. You're probably talking about a 2-week course. But drop us an email, office@crimsonguitars.com, and Ricky will talk you through all of the various options. Our courses, our classes, they are flexible. We will work with you in order to make what you want happen, essentially, in general. Big Unit says, I didn't film the build, but I will film the finished product soon. Seriously, send me photos. I'm interested to see how it came together. Okay. Okay, so we've got a bunch of people talking about the CNC stuff. That's strange. There was somebody walking past the workshop. Okay, Bulgarian says, I would be happy with just a website that was not so wonky to navigate to do the things we need or want to do over adding categories. Basically, I think that we're going to be doing away with the current forum style of the website. It is wonky, it is difficult, and short of us bringing in programs and creating our own thing, it just always will be. This was the best of a bad situation. Next year, it's going to be a little bit more work for my mother, but based on the success of this year, we think we can actually make it work. And it'll be done based on email and links and hashtags. People have been suggesting hashtags as a way to do things. So we've got some seriously good ideas, but the website will be fixed. Okay, CNC, yes, a reasonably traditional category and a full open category, plastics, fiber, resin, etc. Potentially. Boom, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Paul Cook says, I don't know why the means of production needs separate categories. Judge it on the end result, not the tool used. Well, that's the problem. So somebody who's never done anything with wood can, using a CNC machine, make a perfect guitar better than something a Fender would make. While somebody using hand tools, it's always going to look, well, not always, but it's difficult to achieve the same level of polish. It just is. I do believe that it's a different type of process. Now, when I started this argument, I was on the other side. I didn't think that CNC needed its own category, but I'm sort of talking myself into it at this point. What we will do is we're going to poll all of the competitors in this year's competition and see what they think. CNC is another tool. Make a category for unusual materials if you must, but not CNC. That's bedroom programmer. The trick's in your name, my friend. Okay. Alrighty. Well, look, everybody, I think I'm going to start calling it an evening. Bulgarian Evolution says, yes, give Dale a huge hug. She took real good care of me with all the help. She is great. Mr. Waffles is informed. 2 weeks was about what I was thinking. We'll look at the calendar soon. That's Magic Music ATEM about the course. CNC is not building guitars. You are not a luthier. You are a programmer. That's not necessarily true. That's from Sutor Guitars by Ton DeWitt. I use CNC machines. I do. I utilize CNC made kits, and using that, I've created some really interesting guitars. The CNC machine itself is replacing the scut work of routing and relatively low-skilled labor of routing, making a template high-skilled. Using a template to route away, there's not that much involved in it. You are still doing all of the jointing, you are still doing all of the fretwork, you're still doing all of, I assume, the radiusing or the tidying up and the sanding and the scraping. The inlay work is mostly going to be done by hand. etc. There are infinite amounts of handwork involved in even a guitar that is CNC made. So yeah, I don't quite agree with you there. Robert R says, DHL messed up the address. My Crimson order and they should be in the process of sending it back to Crimson so it can be corrected and reshipped. That's insane. I'm assuming you've let us know. How many items do Crimson sell that are not on the website for sale? That's from Lisa. Almost nothing. Although we do take custom orders for some stuff, but most products are on the website, with more coming up soon. Ken Stauffer says, I ended up with two shirts at the end in the process. I'm happy to send one on to someone. I seriously keep it, but I appreciate that. HS Guitars training is super late. Ben looking like my auntie watching QVC. I think that was when I was browsing ATB guitars. Okay, cool. Hold on, I saw somebody taking the piss, I think. What was that? What is that? Ha! Paul Cook. Ben has a calendar? To see how far ago the deadline was, surely. Yes, I agree. Cool. Okay, everybody. Look, I just wanted to say thank you very, very much for your support. Sweeties, okay, come on. It keeps on getting interesting. CNC absolutely needs a separate category. I have nothing against CNC, but it's a completely different process, at least up to the point that handwork has to be done. I agree. Big Units is still waiting for the fret slotting miter box to become available. Any updates? That should... Thank you. That should be imminent. Robert R says, yes, Ben, I've sent emails to both Ricky and Will, and they are on top of it. Fantastic. Yes, Lisa, you can machine pretty much anything you can dream of, although when you're doing for non-standard things, then doing it by hand is actually generally a bit easier. So where are we? Cillian Hurahan says, Ben, is an old number 50 plane for sale here. What would a number 50 be used for? Essentially, it replaces a router, or a router replaced it. And I've never, ever in my entire life used one or been tempted to use one. So there we go. Timon Guitar says, yes, template making is related to pattern making. Pattern makers were amongst the highest skill craft of all woodworking. I agree. And my lack of skill in making templates is the reason why most of my initial guitars, the first 20 or 30 guitars, were always through necks, because no templates needed. Okay, cool. Now, where are we? Mr. Tuxedo 89. Hi, Ben. Can you polish the wipe on guitar finishing lacquer? Yes. I built an ebony pickguard and can't seem to get it on smooth. Any questions? Any suggestions, sorry. Yes, put it on thicker and then rub it flat with wet and dry paper, and then you should be able to apply it with a wet rag quickly. It dries fairly rapidly. It's a thing. Sweet tea ends with peace and love, brother. Have a great week. You too, my friend. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Ah, that's a hard C on Cillian. Is it? Fair enough. I try and get these things right, but sometimes I just suck. Cillian Hurahan says, I'll leave it on Marketplace. So thanks for that, Ben. Okay, no worries. Okay, everybody, you guys rule. I sincerely appreciate your support. I've got a supremely long week ahead of me, and it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, please stay strong, make some sawdust. I am going to be scheduling another live stream for sometime during the day on Wednesday, I think. So watch this space if you have any questions. I think having one in the evening and one in the morning during the week could, yeah, it could get a different bunch of people. It could be interesting. Anyway, I'll see you soon. Have a good one. Goodbye and good night.